How much would you pay to change a light bulb or even set a mousetrap?
Turns out you've been paying hundreds and in some cases thousands of dollars for those items. Only on 10 News, reporter Mitch Blocker reveals how the state of California justifies spending your money.
Do me a favor, hold this stuff for me if you don't mind.
This is a test.
What would you pay for a light bulb?
$5.
$10.
We're asking some of the same questions the people running California's courts had to ask themselves.
Probably $2-3.
$3.
But the state came up with different answers. So did their exclusive contractor, who doesn't have to explain maintenance costs under $500.
State of California paid $378 to have a light bulb replaced above a judge's chair.
Okay, they should be getting some change back.
How much would you pay to have mousetraps set in your home?
$10.
The state of California paid $480 to have traps set in an office.
Wow.
Expensive rodent.
They caught him though.
That's good.
Inside courthouses, we found just because the work is paid for doesn't mean it's finished. This still squeaky door cost $460 to fix. As for fixing squeaky chairs that still squeak,
Very top line right there. What's that say?
Right here?
Yep.
$481.95.
Shoot.
That's ridiculous.
we found a long list of eye-opening costs. To fix a slow clock in San Diego's juvenile court, court administrators explained the actual work performed was to remove and replace the clock battery and adjust the clock to the proper time. The total, $467. To replace a missing door stopper, state officials explained part of the total cost included time to locate and purchase materials. It cost $119. The state says it took 2 technicians to hang this state seal. The bill, $460.
Do you think the state got ripped off?
I think a lot of people get ripped off. A lot. Whether it's the state or the guy next door, because they don't know the real value of things.
Ron Wells has had state contracts for court maintenance before. He wasn't involved in any of the jobs we've described, but said one of the reasons it may cost nearly $400 to replace a light bulb is labor costs can be as high as $75 to $100 an hour.
I don't know how high the ceiling is. Maybe they had to set up scaffolding for all I know.
I sure hope so.
I
For that
hope
much
so
money.
too. I hope so too.
The state says workers used a ladder to change the bulbs.
Well, it's an outrage.
In August, San Diego Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher sat on a committee that grilled court administrators about their spending. Recently, we showed him the latest spending.
They paid to fix this squeaky door.
Right. And it's still squeaky.
It's still squeaking.
And it's still squeaky.
Back in front of the Hall of Justice, taxpayers agreed.
We're getting ripped off.
They've overpaid, obviously.
We're paying for this.
We're paying for this.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Before you're going to cut someone's school, we're going to absolutely cut the agency that's spending $400 on a clock.
Will you think about this when you vote on the budget?
Absolutely.
I'm Mitch Blocker, 10 News.
And the state uses 2 independent contractors to coordinate maintenance work, one for Northern and one for Southern California. If something breaks, state workers call the contractor, and the contractor hires someone else to do the work, but not before they tack on 20 to 30% onto every job. Mismanagement inside California's courts is costing taxpayers millions, and that meter is still running.
The 10 News I-Team has been exposing outrageous court maintenance costs and high-priced computer projects inside state courts for more than a year now. And 10 News reporter Mitch Blocker has found one of the loopholes which allows court managers to look the other way.
We've been showing taxpayers how state courts spend their money, paying for everything from mousetraps.
The state of California paid $480 to have traps set in an office.
Wow.
To light bulbs.
State of California paid $378 to have a light bulb replaced above a judge's chair.
Okay, they should be getting some change back.
They even paid to fix these squeaky chairs that still squeak. The cost?
Very top line right there. What's that say?
Right here?
Yep.
$481.95.
Shoot.
That's ridiculous.
There's a loophole that lets it all happen. The court's exclusive contractor doesn't have to explain maintenance costs under $500. And with the help of our media partners at the San Diego Union Tribune, we found that nearly 85% of all San Diego's court maintenance costs did not have to be explained. Things like fixing a slow clock for $467 or hanging this state seal for $460.
This leads to the cynicism and the frustration, and time again we've seen with this one agency.
San Diego Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher has been watching the group running California's courts since last fall, when the Oversight and Accountability Committee he sits on questioned leaders about their spending. Fletcher calls it one of the most frustrating hearings he's ever been a part of.
You know, this agency in particular is going to get some extra attention from the Oversight and Accountability Committee this year.
Already being questioned is the court's CEO, William Vickery. Fletcher's colleagues in the Assembly are asking for his resignation because of the way he mismanaged the court's billion-dollar computer project.
I think he's got some tough questions that he needs to answer, and I have not been satisfied with the answers I've gotten so far.
For the I-Team, I'm Mitch Blocker, 10 News.
It's been described as troubled and expensive, but our state courts continue working on a billion-dollar computer project with your tax dollars. For more than a year now, the 10 News I-Team has detailed how the project is being mismanaged. New tonight, 10 News investigative reporter Mitch Blocker reveals how state courts forgot about $145 million of your money.
To date, Californians have spent nearly $400 million to connect every case in the state with every court via computer. But questions about how well the new computer system works and how savvy the state courts have been with your money keep coming up. The latest question involves $145 million that the courts never told the state legislature they were going to spend.
There's a definite issue with the budgeting process and how they're going about it.
San Diego CPA Karen Covell looked at what court leaders said they would spend and what they're actually spending.
I see a consistency in under budgeting what the costs really are going to be.
Why are they incapable of counting their money and delivering the core service they're supposed to provide?
These are the questions San Diego Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher has been asking, and he's not the only one. Just today, the state's Chief Justice announced she's launching an investigation to look at how the Administrative Office of the Courts is managed.
I feel it is necessary to assess and review all aspects of the AOC.
Also today, William Vickery, the man in charge of the state's courts, announced he'll retire in September.
He believes that now would be an optimal time to step aside.
The continually under budgeting indicates to me that somebody's not being held accountable.
Fletcher says he and his oversight committee plan to find out how to fix what's broken at the Administrative Office of the Courts.
And we started on the AOC last year, and the job's not done.
I'm Mitch Blocker, 10 News.
California's court computer project is supposed to be the most expensive IT project in America's history. The expected price tag, $1.9 billion.
$700 million. That's the budget wish list our state court system is tossing around. I-Team reporter Mitch Blocker discovered the wishes had little to do with reality and everything to do with money.
That $700 million wish list comes from the same public servants we found paying $467 to hang clocks in courtrooms. They think $481 to fix squeaky chairs that still squeak is a good deal. They spend $119 of your money on a single doorstop. Now, if the Administrative Office of the Courts had its way, it would spend $700 million more of your tax dollars.
You see a lot of things in Sacramento that don't make sense, but the AOC continues to really set the bar high.
Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher has grilled AOC leaders about how they spend your money before. Still, he was noticeably surprised when we told him the court administrators had a $703 million wish list. Things like $210,000 to pave this parking lot at Vista Court, even though the court doesn't own the property. The AOC wants to spend nearly $18,000 to recarpet a single courtroom and $54,000 to replace emergency battery pack lights. They also want to spend $2,500 to paint a single judge's closet. Judge Tony Mano showed us his closet to see what a $2,500 paint job looks like.
It boggles the mind to think that you'd have to pay $2,500 to paint that.
When we asked why the state would create a list for things they can't pay for, the court spokesman told us the $703 million that you cited is essentially a wish list submitted by the trial courts for which we do not have the money.
I can't figure out why they published it.
Now, what's most surprising about the court's list is leadership only actually has $30 million to spend this year on court maintenance. That is more than 20 times less than the $703 million on their wish list. For the I-Team, I'm Mitch Blocker, 10 News.
Boozing it up on company time would get most people fired, but not the bureaucrats running California's courts.
We're not talking about the judges or the lawyers, but two men who have controlled more than $300 million of your dollars. The I-Team's Mitch Blocker found that they have many ways to spend our money.
In fewer than 2 years, these two men have spent thousands of dollars staying in hotels on your dime. They've been to Vail, Charlotte, and Boston. They've been to Santa Fe, Denver, and Indian Wells. 3 times they packed their bags for Washington, D.C., and every time, on every trip, charged California taxpayers for their room, their flight, their drinks, and their dinners. The two men we're talking about are Ronald Overholt, the man currently in charge of California's courts, and William Vickery, the man who used to be.
Spending hundreds of dollars on steak and lobster and alcoholic beverages is just wrong. And it's out of touch, and it's got to stop.
San Diego Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher is talking about those D.C. trips we found where court leaders charged taxpayers for booze and steaks. At the Occidental, it was $234 for wine and hard liquor, $816 for food. Leaders at the Administrative Office of the Courts, or AOC, say those D.C. trips were for conferences and to meet with federal court leaders.
The AOC is going to have a lot of tough questions to answer.
They may have to explain why even when they aren't traveling, they're spending your money. At home in San Francisco, just blocks from their headquarters, they've enjoyed more than $700 in dinners at this French restaurant and taken their colleagues out for a $1,200 dinner at this steakhouse on San Francisco Bay. We also found Mr. Overholt charged taxpayers for a hotel stay in San Francisco, even though he lives there.
This is in San Francisco, and he works in San Francisco, so why would he be staying in a hotel in San Francisco?
Vista Judge Tony Mano has been critical of court leadership since our series of investigations revealed them paying outrageous prices for seemingly simple court maintenance. Things like $460 to hang a single clock in a courtroom. For that story and for this one, our questions remain unanswered. Every time we ask court leaders for an interview, they tell us no. This time, their spokesman wrote, "Sorry, but we have no one available for an on-camera interview regarding Administrative Office of the Court's spending."
Certainly, in the economic situation that we're all in, doesn't look good.
What also doesn't look good is how Mr. Overholt got to some of those expensive dinners, many at the Bay Area's Hotel Nico, just 8 blocks from his office, about a 15-minute walk. But instead of walking, Overholt drove and charged taxpayers more than $50 every time he parked, something he's done nearly a dozen times.
This is why the public is losing faith, or has lost faith in so many instances with its government, particularly its state government.
Now, we've already done more than a dozen stories about how the state courts do business. Every time we peel back a layer, we find what some call arrogance and others call incompetence. This time, it looks like extravagance.
So who's monitoring their spending? We all have to get our expense reports approved by our bosses. Who's their bosses?
That's a good question. As far as we can tell, nobody. It doesn't seem like they have a boss. The closest thing to accountability that we could find was when William Vickery, you saw him in the story, resigned in September because of pressure from certain state investigations that questioned his management style. Now, Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher told us that it may be time to stop reimbursing some of these state employees for their booze bills.
It's an idea.
Very much so.
Keep it up, Mitch.
Thank you, Mitch.